Hello, everyone. Glad to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a warm welcome to anyone who is joining us for the first time. So, we're doing another reading today for soulmates who are in separation. And we know that takes many forms. In some cases, maybe you haven't been in communication for a while. There's been quite a while since the two of you have come together. Then I had one person say, we're very much in separation, even though I can see him sitting across the room. So it's everything in between. But the common thread is generally this lack of communication, and in some cases, no communication. We've had a lot of common threads actually that run through these situations. And so today we're going to take another look. We're going to look at how your person is feeling about you, about the situation, what sort of energy is acting upon the relationship. And then we'll see what you're headed for and maybe ask what you can be doing to better prepare for it. So, as always, it is a general reading. It's timeless. You'll find it when it's best for you to find it. It's for all signs. It's not going to resonate with everybody, but what I've been hearing is that just I can feel that all these readings are very much connected. If this is you, a lot of these readings are likely to resonate. So, if this one does resonate with you, then I would say please hit like, but I would also say maybe subscribe, because there is an awesome collective that we've built here, and it is continuing to grow as we find our people. So, if this is you, welcome in. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to jump in by looking at the energetic backdrop. So the energetic backdrop, Queen of Feathers in reverse, is kind of that energy that you're floating around in. It's on that spiritual side. What's flowing between the two of you, even if you're not having actual conversations. So the Queen of Feathers is this, it's air energy. So it's similar to like the Queen of Swords in a traditional tarot. And so it's a card of logic. It's a card of cutting things out. But actually, when we've got it in reverse, it feels a little bit more to me here like not so much cutting things out as being conscientious about what you're cutting out, because it's that element of the Queen of Feathers that cuts things out almost indiscriminately. As soon as something seems like a logical choice, she takes the action. But in reverse here, I'm seeing a little bit of hold on, let me think about this. And so what I also get the sense that it could take a while. So this thinking about it could lapse into inaction, a feeling of almost stagnation. So it may already have started to do that. We'll take a look when we get a little bit farther in to clarify. So first, let's see how you're feeling, or I'm sorry, how they're feeling about you and the relationship. We're going to jump in and ask the question that is kind of behind this reading. How are they feeling about you and the relationship? Okay, so we've got two of them that want to come out, but not all of them. They'll have a glow to them. That's how I can tell which ones I want to pull out. Obviously, it's not going to be evident on camera, but it is super evident to me. I'll know exactly which ones. Sometimes if I put them down there, I don't want any of them. So we've got the Queen of Shells, which is water energy. It's like the Queen of Cups in reverse, and we've also got the Tower in reverse. Okay, so this is the response to the reaction that your person has had to you, essentially. They have, okay, so they've cut something out. They have run away. There has been I have to cut this out hastily. Now there's this realization that maybe it was too hasty, it was too rash of a decision. They're looking back on it, and it's a difficult thing for them to really look back on. There is a whole bunch of light that's too bright for them to look at. Okay, so you are like a light that's too bright for them to look at. And we have this Tower card in reverse. The Tower, when it's in the upright, is a card of emotional upheaval. It's a card of things really getting intense emotionally, no longer going the same direction. You have had a new enlightenment that means things can no longer go forward the way that they have been. Here in the reverse, this is an enlightenment that they're not allowing to happen. So basically, they've clamped down on it. One of the reasons that you don't have that communication is because that means that they feel less like they have to deal with this and confront it right now. But this, the Queen of Shells, is more, it's more a card of like a defensive but codependent sort of energy that has come out in response to this relationship and your person's feelings about it. So there's this sort of codependent response that they feel a little bit locked into. They don't know how to not run. They don't know how to not respond the way that they do. They're compelled, almost like I don't know if you ever did this, but if you were like when you were a little kid, if you had a basement and you'd be down in the basement, it'd be dark and you'd be running up the stairs and just feel like something was chasing you and you were compelled and like you couldn't have stopped and turned around and um or this person is lacking that thing that would allow them to stop and turn around and confirm that nothing is there. They are in full runaway and bail mode. This is somebody who's looking to cut emotional ties because of the fear, not because of the lack of emotion. Here, this is a reaction to the experiences that they've had and what you have brought out in them. So, when your person is looking at you and thinking about you, they're realizing that they can't actually look into this light. It's too bright for them. They're very impacted by you. You have changed this person's life in a way that they aren't going to be able to go back to the way that they were. That's one thing for sure. Let's see where you guys are headed. The energy that you're headed towards. So it doesn't take your free will into account. It's here's everything that has happened so far. It culminates in an energy that's heading in a certain way, and that trajectory that you're on leads you to what this is. So what is this energy that you are headed toward? We've got the Eight of Acorns, but in reverse. Okay, so this is that stagnation, or rather super slow moving energy that we were talking about earlier. So I mentioned that this, with this Queen of Feathers, there was this desire to maybe evaluate and think a little bit more about decisions that would have you cutting something out. Here with the Eight of Acorns, we have, I said that this could lead to inaction, inactivity. Inaction is the word I want to use, as well as potentially stagnation. So here is that inaction and potential stagnation. We'll look into this a little bit more, but it's also an opportunity to really take stock of things and understand what's happening on your side. So we'll take a closer look and understand, because one of the things that's come through for us regularly in these readings is a need for many of us, both you and your person, to learn the art of sitting still, of being able to become comfortable in a situation that is uncomfortable. So it's not always physically sitting still, but oftentimes that's how you train it. So let's see what a critical energy is that's acting upon you at this time. If you guys watch these videos, then you know this one is sometimes a question that can kind of turn the tide of the relationship, or of the reading that we're having. But let's see what a critical energy would be that is acting upon you at this time. So we've got the Five of Feathers, and this is I want to say it's wasted energy, but really what it is it's when you jump in and you make kind of a quick decision that you've got to do something that leads you to a victory, but it's maybe an empty victory because you haven't thought it all the way through. It matches incredibly well with the way this Queen of Feathers would have been feeling on the when it was in the upright. This sudden removal, suddenly cutting something out without really giving it a whole lot of thought, and then being real intense about it. This Five of Feathers is that energy of cutting something out and of that being really intense about it. That's kind of what I get there with that one. I'm going to do this just because, not necessarily because it's the right thing to do, but because I've said this is what I was going to do. It's not necessarily born of rational decisions, there is a potential to create a strategy here, but unfortunately, it's buried too far in the fear. So that is part of the critical energy that's acting upon you, and that's that same desire to cut and run and just get up those basement stairs. And not have the ability to find the strength to look back. I almost expect to see the strength card coming in reverse when we go to clarify either that or this, but not this one so much. So let's take a look at these hidden energies, what you can't see from where you're standing, but that might help to clarify things, clear something up for you if you knew. That's what we're looking for here. So we've got the Six of Acorns. Oh, see, this is that victory. This is victory after a long battle. It's that sense of if you knew how your person felt when they came in your presence, and you wouldn't, because the way that they feel on the surface here, they're in denial. They're running. They can't be convinced to turn around and stop running. This is a defense mechanism they haven't finished employing yet. And yet, if you were aware of how they felt about you when the two of you first came in contact, you might be amazed. It was like, oh, I finally arrived. I finally found you. I'm finally home. It's kind of that sort of feeling. And it's, again, it feels like it's after a long battle. So that's a fabulous, amazing feeling, but not necessarily a simple one. Not necessarily a simple one. We'll have to look into this. Sometimes this is a really basic, simple kind of feeling. This is not the way that I'm getting it here. Before we jump in to clarify, though, let's look at what you can be doing better now, or to be better prepared. What you can be doing now to be better prepared for what you're heading toward. And we know that you're headed toward this sitting still sort of energy, but how can you best prepare for that? So we've got here the Seven of Acorns. This is about admitting your weaknesses. It's about understanding what you perceive to be your limitations, and maybe you're going to have an opportunity to examine those and determine if they are in fact really limitations. It's possible that you've been holding yourself, and this is like a Nine of Acorns kind of feeling. That's fire energy. But that you've been guarding a wall that no longer requires being guarded. And so anything that you can do to sit back and say, here is, I'm laying myself open like a book for myself, not necessarily for other people. This isn't a lesson in vulnerability to others so much as a recommendation to be vulnerable within yourself, so that when the time comes to sit with it, you're not so surprised and reacting to what you see and what you experience. You're able to relax and actually do some of the healing that's going to be presented there for you, because that's ultimately what that energy is going to be so great for. Otherwise, it can be pretty uncomfortable. So finding your comfort in that energy is sometimes a challenge, but definitely very worth it. Let's jump in and do some clarifying, and we're going to do clarifying on the energetic backdrop first. And so I didn't introduce my tarots, my decks. This is the Spirit Song Tarot that I read with on that first layer of energy, and we're going to dig in a little bit deeper here with the oh gosh, what's it called? It's the Healing Light Tarot. I completely drew a blank on it for a second there, and it's one of my favorite ones. Anyway, the Healing Light Tarot. So I'm going to go ahead and clarify the Queen of Feathers in reverse first. And this one, this is that energetic backdrop. All right, so yeah, okay, the tower that you guys had gotten close to, and they decided not to let that tower fall. Looks like there's oh, you guys are paired like tug of war right now, but it's not necessarily that one of you is on one side and the other is on the other side. There's a little bit of you on both sides, but the tug of war goes like this. So you're now in this position where the relationship has taken a turn that has put you into a place of having to think. You're practically the hermit card. You're in your thinking cave. Your person is too, only they're more in their compartmentalization cave, trying to essentially not have to think about things. That's what this Tower card is telling us. That's what this Queen of Shells, that's why they're trying not to think about things, because they've been triggered pretty hard. But there's definitely this sense of a rash action having been taken here. And so now it's, do you go ahead and let this tower fall and allow for the difficult emotions to come in? Or do you remain steadfast and not allow those things to happen? And so that's kind of the struggle and the back and forth that's happening right now. Move these over just a little bit. That's kind of the struggle and the back and forth that's happening right now in the current energy. And like I said, it's not just you're ready to let the tower fall and they refuse. There's a little bit of them that wants to let this tower fall, and a little bit of you that is maybe a little bit reluctant to allow some of that to happen. So just something to be looking for. It may be something that as you hear that, you think, oh no, that's not true at all. I'm ready for it to go. I'm ready for it to look in there, because there's additional and this is the step where you'll look into it. But look into it because there may be some additional pieces that aren't, that are, lessons that are mostly learned but not entirely. That's the sort of thing that you're looking for. So I was doing a personal reading for someone not too long ago, and I mentioned to them that the change they needed to make was not a huge one. It was more of a smaller, nuanced change. And this is kind of like that. It's not necessarily that you're looking to turn things 180 degrees. You're more learning to, or you're looking to make that nuanced change and some adjustments in your self impression and your understanding. That's going to help you out as you're moving to this new energy too. So this energy that you're in kind of leads you to, here's what you need to do to deal with what's headed your way, which is going to be more of an opportunity to solve dilemmas. Let's look at your person and how they're feeling here. And remember, this is that Queen of Shells. This is that tower. This is that tower that they won't let fall. They are very much defensive and tight. They're wound up kind of tightly because of how they've been triggered here. So let's get a couple of clarifiers on this one and just kind of understand. I think we got one there. Yeah, there's this is how they're maintaining their day-to-day balance, is the way that they're handling things and the way that they're behaving right now, but they really don't have the stability, so it's an artificial balance. And they're constantly kind of having to use something to prop themselves up. So I don't see the devil card here, but it's almost kind of got that sense of not necessarily substance abuse, but to the point where they could be taking a couple of drinks to take the edge off, but not too many because they want to be able to maintain control. If they took too many drinks, this tower could potentially fall no matter how good at it they are. So, there are certainly some limitations they're imposing upon themselves. It's an uncomfortable situation, and you're very much causing them to look at it. But again, you're like this light that's too bright to look at. So they're seeing all of the places where maybe they feel like they've fallen short a little bit. Let's take a look at this Eight of Acorns here and see what wants to come out to clarify that. There's our Hermit card. So I was thinking you're in the Hermit cave now. Often you're thinking cave now, but it looks like that's the energy of where you're headed. But the difference here is that it's where both of you are headed going forward, but leads to a place of discovery, self-discovery, and self-trust. So that's the Seven of Swords in reverse. When we see the Seven of Swords in the energy where you're headed, in reverse is kind of the way that I would typically like to see it, because a lot of times the Seven of Swords, it can represent strategy, okay? And so can this Five of Swords over here, from a certain manner of speaking, in a certain manner of speaking. However, the Seven of Swords typically talks about some sort of deception, some sort of action that is not on the up and up. And so when we see it in the reverse here, we see that self-deception kind of going away. And that's what has this opportunity is here with this Eight of Acorns in reverse. That's like the Eight of Wands, but being in reverse, and with you preparing for it by kind of laying yourself open and saying, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable to myself and just be really honest internally, even if I don't want to talk about it outside of this, and a lot of you, I get that you don't necessarily want to talk about it outside of this because you have a life. You don't necessarily want to mix with the topic that some of these topics that you're working through. It's not something that you would deem appropriate in all places, and so it's not a conversation that you often get to have. Let's take a look at this Five of Feathers, because remember that was the energy that is it's acting. It's a critical energy acting upon you at this time, and it has a lot to do with that like reflex to cut and run up the basement stairs. And that reflex is, it's important for you to understand because it's something that your person would have to retrain in themselves. They would have to get to a place where they could see that they were doing it, and they kind of are. Their ability to see that they're getting there again and that they're doing it is not especially, dropped a couple of cards. It's not especially at fault here. The problem is they don't do anything to stop themselves. They're not really in a position to do anything to stop themselves. And it has to do with this lack of balance, which is not just on this day to day. It's that long-term balance that they lack. And also, they've got this issue that they have been trying to heal, or that they need to heal. Is really just being difficult. It's being challenging for them to get in and do their healing because of this triggering that happens, and it causes them to reflexively run away rather than address it. So they remain out of balance, and it's just really difficult for them to solve their problems because they're having a hard time confronting them. However, there's a part of them that does wish to confront their problems, and we can definitely see that in the current energy. We also see in the future energy that they're going to have the opportunity to sit with those problems and to confront them. It also looks like you guys kind of head in a good direction, and you are so much the catalyst. So when we get into the extended reading, we're going to do an extended reading on this one for sure. I just feel like we need to take a closer look at this because we don't get so many of the emotions. They're so tight, like tightly wound, that you really only get their reaction to you and not as much their emotion. So I get it. That's how they're feeling. That's how they feel about you, about the relationship. But we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. Um, I think we also need to look at this energy of where you're headed to, because it looks like it's a really good place, even though it could potentially turn or go to stagnation. Because you're aware of that, I get this sense you'll utilize your free will so that it doesn't. And we'll keep looking at what it is that you are supposed to be learning that will help you not allow it to go to stagnation. Then it just takes strength. So let's take a look at this Six of Acorns. So this was the piece that you don't know, the piece that even if you do kind of know it, you don't know it to the extent to which it is true. And that is, when you first met this person, they realized that they had come home. They realized that the one that they had been waiting for was standing right before them. And unfortunately, that's not always an easy thing to process. But to recognize that they created a more well-rounded view and perspective for themselves based on this. But they also felt like, here's a situation where I don't have a choice to do the things that I want to do, that I feel compelled to do, that I feel like I need to do. And so they ended up creating a painful ending as a result. And so it's not over, though. I'm almost expecting to see, like, if I kept pulling cards, the next one would be the World in reverse. And I'm not going to keep pulling cards because I get a very specific do this, don't do that sort of deck. When I start to shuffle, it's very clear to me what's appropriate and what's not. So I won't pull another card, but if I did, it would be the World in reverse. And it would be this feeling of not being over yet, of having created again this painful ending, this rash, painful ending to a situation where they felt like they didn't have choices because they hadn't stopped yet to think about it. They were mostly just feeling triggered, feeling like, I can't possibly go this direction. This is a light too bright to look at. They have this reflexive desire to get out of the way and to remove themselves when they start to feel this way. So let's take a look at what you can be doing to be better prepared now for what it is that you're headed toward. Because you've got this energy that you're headed toward, and we have a card that flew on the floor. We're going to go ahead and use it. It's the Three of Cups in the upright. Okay, so this is... wow, this is energy bleeding in from another one of our readings. We get that a lot. I'm going to use this one. Okay, so this is probably a little bit challenging. Okay, so you are going to have to lay yourself open, become vulnerable to yourself. In so doing, you've been given this situation with your person that has yielded some really challenging emotions for both of you. But the point of it has been to allow you to really get in there and understand yourself a little bit better, because that's going to allow you to take you this upcoming time of energy that isn't moving very quickly and really make good use of it. So this Page of Pentacles is about opening yourself to the learning and opening yourself even more now than you think you already are, because you've been in the learning, but it also gets you very tired. So you'll have to renew your efforts in that area. But the other thing is that it's almost like what works against it. You're going to feel like it's hitting you all over again sometimes as you're going through this, and that means you're doing it right. The pain of this difficult ending has to be felt as it leaves you, but once it leaves you, it never has to come back. So that's that tower that will be coming down, and that's where you might find a little bit of that resistance to allow that to happen. And I'm going to go ahead and pull an oracle card for you. You know, I always pull out the oracle decks, but I don't always use them. This is going to be the Quantum Oracle. I haven't pulled this one out for you guys online here for a little while, but I really enjoy this one. It is got a lot of different ways of looking at things. Each card has a category, and then within that category, um, it has a few different pieces of advice that we can get. And that's what these cards are. So if you watch my readings, these cards are always about advice. Man, this one just, I knew it was coming out. Okay, so the category is intention, and the concept is back and forth. Okay, so this is about wavering intention, of course. And the instruction that you're receiving here is not to allow your energy to be wasted by wavering in this back and forth sort of energy, whether it is walking away from someone else's back and forth energy or not engaging in it yourself. There's a lot of waste in that energy. So you're being encouraged not to participate in a back and forth sort of experience, because it ends up ratcheting your energy down rather than up, and it doesn't do anything really positive for you as far as moving into your lessons. It just uses you up. So don't allow that when you've already gotten into a place where you're going to have to renew your ability to learn, because it's challenging and it takes a lot out of you. Plus, the relationship itself may have been taking some things out of you. So keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and go into the extended. So the link will be down below. And we're going to look at, again, like I said, how your person is feeling, because we got the surface, how they react to you, but we're going to see how they feel about you. And then we're also going to look a little bit more deeply into this beautiful energy that you're moving into, where you get to really start thinking things through, where you've got a little bit of preparation here that's going to allow you to make the most of this energy, but you come out of it more with this feeling of self-trust and having some answers. So that seems really promising. We'll dig into that as well. Again, if this one resonated with you, please hit like and please do subscribe so we can stick together. I'll look forward to seeing you again in another reading.